Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Happy, Sad, Confused. My guest today loves wearing spandex and screaming his own name to the heavens. It's the one and only Zachary Levi.
I love that all of that is actually true.
It was even before you were SHAZAM.
It was all. That's how I got the job. They were like, "Wait, what actor in Hollywood loves wearing spandex and loves just exclaiming his name to the heavens?" Oh, that's Zachary.
Get me Levi.
Give me that guy.
Remember to hit the subscribe, the like, the whole thing, so you can enjoy this chat with the star of SHAZAM, Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, so much fury.
So much
With
fury.
so much of the fists in the air. Ooh, why I oughtas. So many why I oughtas.
This is the first time you've been on the podcast, Zach. We've talked so many different times. Congratulations on the movie. Thanks for the time.
Well, thanks for finally having me on your podcast.
Look,
Jeez,
I figured finally, 2 movies in, you
two movies in, I
earned it.
finally earned it. Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me first. We're talking at the end of another crazy press tour.
Yeah.
How do you keep sane during these press tours? Because, like, look, I mean, it's not digging ditches. You're not in a coal mine, but
True.
you're all over the place. I see you on Instagram. You've been traveling the world on this. How do you maintain happiness and peace in the eye of the storm?
Well, like you said, it's not digging ditches. It's not fighting foreign wars. You know, all these things. I do think it's important that we allow ourselves the grace to, regardless of what life you live or vocation you're in, we should allow ourselves the grace to have our critiques, have our things that we wish could be better or different or whatever. And then I allow myself that. But then I have, try to give myself context and perspective and say, yeah, but also you're getting paid for this. I'm getting paid to fly around the world, first class, and staying in beautiful hotels and eating wonderful meals and meeting lovely people like yourself who like me, want me to be there and want to ask me questions about who I am and the superhero I play. So, it's not, if you really just allow that to sink in and you go, this is my job, this is what I'm being paid for, that helps to maintain, I think, at least for me, a humility, a gratitude, and therefore a better vantage point on what it all is. Because, as junkets, press junkets, which you do a lot of while you're doing all this. Podcasts, to me, are kind of the best. I love podcasts. I love long-form conversation because you can actually have a conversation.
Oh, yeah. This is the therapy for me. Honestly, I started this 9 years ago because I had, like yourself, done junkets forever, and my brain, was over.
Yeah,
it was done.
You get 5 minutes to ask, oftentimes questions that you need to be kind of, forgive me for saying, but banal or like kind of clicky enough to be like, like on both tours now, the number one question, one of the number one questions is always like, so if you could have a superpower, what would it be? Now, listen, one could get very tired of hearing that question and answering that question. But what I try to do is just recognize that the person across from me is just trying to do a job. They're trying to do their job. And yes, maybe there could be more interesting questions that could be asked, but to the extent that I can just, oh gosh darn, I have to reintroduce a little more enthusiasm or energy to just answer that kindly and as authentically as possible. And you do that, sure, a bunch of different times, but it's still... it's, and also listen, I love human beings. So, and I'm a huge extrovert, shocker. So it doesn't drain me. All these things don't drain me like they might drain other people. I don't know what it's like to be a hardcore introvert and have to go through junkets. And you're like, and also your sleep schedule's all messed up because you're flying to all these different places and your body clock's like, where are you right now?
Joaquin Phoenix doesn't have the same answer to that question. He's not like,
no.
I'm feeding off your energy, Josh.
No. Although he seems like an incredibly interesting person who, if given the right circumstances, can, I'm sure, probably make it through these days too in a way that is maybe enjoyable for him. I think that's one of the biggest things. You just have to understand, how do you need to look at it and how do you need to do it in order to get through it and enjoy it as best you can and help other people to enjoy it along the way. And, you do that and it's a much easier, more enjoyable experience.
I would also imagine, we've had kind of aspects of this conversation before, there's that second sight of like the journey that you've been on and the appreciation of where you're at. And this ain't your first rodeo. You've been through it. You've had the ups, you've had the downs.
Yeah.
And to be where you are, to not only have one SHAZAM movie, but 2 SHAZAM movies that people are really responding to well, you have to take like some real satisfaction because you know how many forks in the road there are and how it's talent, but a lot of it's luck and right place, right time.
Oh, yeah.
and that has to never escape your brain.
No,
Imagine,
never. It never
right?
should. It should never feel. I don't know. I don't think anybody really deserves this stuff. You know, like if you really think about like deserve, but I mean, does anybody deserve anything? I don't. You know, we can unpack that in a much larger philosophical conversation, but I think it's always, particularly for somebody in my position, it's like, wow, I dreamt about being this guy. Not just a working, successful actor, which I've been able to somehow manifest in this almost 25 years of doing this, which is insane. But that I get to be a superhero that I always dreamed about being ever since I was a little kid. And then as an actor, dreaming about, getting one of these plum roles. And I think, honestly, this is one of the most plum because I have way more fun than I think a lot of other superheroes might have, because they are serious adults, as they need to be. The world is constantly in peril. If you read any comic books or see the movies, the world is constantly in peril. So you have adult superheroes that must be very diligent about that. And I get to, be this kind of, goofball. And it's so much fun. And so none of that is lost on me. None of that is ever taken for granted at all. I don't want to ever take it for granted. I don't ever want to feel like this is normal, because this is not normal. There are so many people that dream of living the life that I get to live, and I am going to respect and appreciate that for as long as I live. And but the one of the upswings of all that is when you do look at life like that, it's so much better. Yeah. Life is better. Then you're not constantly in a place of feeling like you're being gypped or you're missing out on something, or somebody's, whatever it is. Like, I think that there's a real truth about energy and attraction and manifestation and all that stuff. And if you're constantly in a negative place, like I was not too long ago, 6 years ago, but when I was having this mental breakdown that I had, I was not attracting the things that I wanted in my life. I was not becoming capable of handling the responsibility of the things that I wanted to bring into my life. And then going to therapy, having this insane life-saving, life-changing experience in therapy, learning that I never loved myself, which was like, what the heck? I had no idea about that. I always assumed I loved myself. Nope, didn't.
Can I unpack that?
Yeah, let's go.
So how does that revelation happen? Is that like literally, and obviously you don't have to go as deep as you want to, but like, is that with a therapist that literally says to you, do you love yourself? Like, have you ever thought about it? Like, is it like...
Listen, I went to worked with this organization in Connecticut that basically, I had a dozen different modalities of therapy. I had like a psychiatrist, psychotherapist, and a dialectic behavioral therapist, art therapist, meditation therapist, life coach, nutritionist, trainer at the gym 4 days a week, Pilates, yoga, like all of these things. I was in a bad place.
You were broken.
I was broken. I did not want to live anymore, and I didn't know why. And there was so much that I needed to learn. And I didn't even learn all of it there. I've learned continuously since, leaving that place. But some of the main work that I did there and the things that I learned, one of those big things was, yes, I did not love myself. And it took a lot of these different people in this 3 weeks of intensive therapy asking me various questions along the way that all kind of lead you there, but one of the biggest revelations I had, I was with, I think it was my dialectic behavioral therapist, DBT, as it's known in short. And she had asked me, by the way, a question that I have no doubt I had been asked before, but it never fully clicked. And that's another thing about therapy. You could hear a thing or a
dozen times,
a dozen exactly, and it won't click until it actually clicks. Yeah. But she said, when you screw up, when you do something wrong or fail or whatever, how do you talk to yourself? And I was like, well, I eviscerate myself. I'm like, you idiot, using much more colorful language than that, you effing idiot, you blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what the rating on the bad cop.
Whatever you want.
Oh, okay, well, you fucking idiot. Well, you're really fucked up, blah, blah. Like really, really harsh ways that I talk to myself. And they go, okay, would you talk that way to anybody that you love in your life? I was like, no. Not aware. I wouldn't be aware of it. I wouldn't intentionally do that. Absolutely not. And they said, okay, so then why do you talk to yourself that way? And right in that, it was like that math. And I was like, oh God. Oh my God. Well, if the indication of how you see yourself is how you talk to yourself, and by the way, it is one of the largest indicators of how you see and feel about yourself is how you talk to yourself. If that's the case, then no, I did not love myself. I did not like myself even a lot of the time, you know? So that was a huge revelation. And then in the last 6 years, it's just been a lot of working on that, working on figuring out, you know, how to balance my life, how to be a healthier version of me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of that stuff. And one of the big ways that you do that is you take your thoughts captive. Every time I start to harsh on myself as I did, I went, whoa, wait a minute. No, this is exactly what you do. And I learned it from my parents, who learned it from their parents, who learned it from, you know, it's all this is inherited generational trauma. And so you can forgive all of it. You can accept all of it. It's all doable. You just have to recognize that everyone's doing their best. We just get bad programming along the way.
It's so, the challenge obviously among many is that especially in your profession, it's so based on constant judgment and evaluation.
Yeah.
So it's hard to turn off that switch. I mean, you know, as we talk, we're about to go into opening weekend, and the numbers will be great or good or not great or whatever, and then the reviews will be great or not good, and you're gonna have to just navigate that again and probably turn off that part of your brain that wants to eviscerate yourself.
Listen, man. Yeah. I mean, it's already been tough. Most actors can't watch themselves on screen.
Right.
It's very difficult to divorce yourself from the experience you were having while shooting those scenes, and what you were thinking and what you were feeling. And, you know, I don't know. And I'm constantly just critiquing myself physically, like, stand up straight, you buffoon. Like, my gosh, your posture is horrible. Like, the entire movie, I just can't help it. And also looking at myself and my performance choices and being like, oh man, like, you're such an idiot there. Like, it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. But, you know, listen, I did my best. I have to accept that I know that I did my best, and all the other stuff is out of your hands. But yeah, I mean, even like on Twitter today, scrolling through, there's people that have, you know, released some advanced reviews or just, you know, fans who have seen it, and there's this incredibly positive stuff out there. And then of course there's these other people, like the internet is full of, which is, you know, a very just negative to be negative people who, like, there's a whole contingent of comic book fans that it's really unfortunate that there's this one particular group of people that think they don't like me because I don't agree with them on other comic book movies, and you know who I'm talking about. But instead of there being a conversation, like, they take so many of my words or things completely out of context. They then they go stir up their other people that they know online, and they all just want to attack. And it's really sad because I mean, this is just one example of so many examples of the amount of just venom and toxicity and bullying that goes on in these cyber dimensions, and people, they really get off on it because it's like they feel very powerless. I mean, again, so what I try to do is I try to empathize and go, oh, these people that are being so vicious online, I can only assume that they are very powerless people who need to feel the flex by being, you know, anonymously online, tearing other people down and hoping for the reactions.
Yes.
And then they feel bolstered in that, and it's just it's sad. But I know I can see through that filter, so I don't allow it, or I try not to allow it to creep in and make me start, you know, being negative with myself, you know.
This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Let's talk about therapy, guys. And I'm so happy I can even say that in 2023, because back in the day, it felt like you weren't allowed to talk openly about therapy. I've had it in the past. It's helped me in my personal and professional life, and it's helped so many friends and family members too. Let's be real, guys. If you're thinking of starting therapy, there's no better day than today, and that's where BetterHelp comes into play. It's entirely online, guys. It's designed to be convenient, to be flexible, and suited to your schedule, to your very busy schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. You deserve help, guys. It's okay to ask for help, and that's where BetterHelp comes into play. Discover your potential with BetterHelp today. Visit BetterHelp.com/HSC today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/HSC. Well, guys, I don't know about you, but these cold winter nights make me appreciate all the more a product like Boll and Branch. These sheets are keeping me warm and cozy all winter long with a set of their buttery soft sheets. They're made with 100% organic cotton threads. They get softer with every wash. And they come in a variety of great colors. My wife and I love this product. The sheets feel great. They look great. They make great gifts. It just checks all the boxes. Plus, these sheets are designed to feel incredible for every kind of sleeper. They're made without toxins. They're free from pesticides, formaldehyde, and other harsh chemicals. And these sheets fit the deepest of mattresses and labeled with top and bottom tags, so making your bed is easier than ever. They come in 10 versatile colors in all sizes, from twin up to California King. And best of all, Boll and Branch gives you a 30-night risk-free guarantee, guys. Free shipping and returns on all U.S. orders. What more do I have to say? How important is sleep to you and your loved ones? It's everything to me. That's what Boll and Branch can mean to you. So make the most of bedtime with Boll and Branch sheets. Get 15% off your first order when you use promo code HSC at bollandbranch.com. Exclusions apply. See site for details. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com. Promo code HSC. How had you handled, okay, so prior to kind of like this kind of change in philosophy and change in life, and which coincidentally or not coincided with SHAZAM.
Oh yeah, very much.
So how had you handled it? Again, this has come up before, even in our conversations. Like, you were very close to getting Peter Quill. You almost got Starlord.
Pretty close. Yeah.
You were in the running.
Yeah.
You auditioned for Captain America. So like when those like come and they feel close, and you're like, oh my God, the next 10 years of my life, I'm gonna be a Guardian of the Galaxy with James Gunn. We're gonna kill it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's. Well, at those points in my life, I didn't know it at the time, but I was a very unhealed, broken person. You know, I felt like I was more whole, but
Right.
So in fact, it's really crazy to think about that I was somehow able to manage surviving through so much of my,
Right.
18 to 37 when I had my breakdown. I mean, I for all that time, I was white knuckling it through, and all the rejection. As an actor, it's not like you're going and selling vacuums and people reject the vacuum. They're rejecting you on some level, which is
I don't like
your
face.
Yeah, I don't like your face. Literally. I mean, or not. And even though it might not have anything to do with the value of it, but rather they're looking for just a different type of face. But it's very difficult to not feel like they hate me or whatever,
Yes.
But somehow I was able to really navigate almost all that, and never really truly dragged me down. Maybe it's just because I felt so supremely confident in my calling to be an actor, and I always felt like, ever since I was a little kid, I was meant to do it. But I don't know. I mean, listen, certainly as I got older, just because like it, like mental health is like dental health. Like, it starts as a little cavity, but if you don't get in there and fix it becomes much worse in time. So when I was younger, actually, my mental health, though my things were askew and off, it hadn't really rotted as much yet,
Right.
And by the time I was 37, it had gotten to the point where I needed a full-blown root canal, mental root canal. So, Captain America, I mean, that was quite some time ago. And there were other things that were kind of even before that. I can't remember exactly, but I remember going in for Captain America, and I was thinking, well, I look like Roger's pre-serum.
I got that part nailed.
Like, clearly they could help me work out and I could get big and I could, but wasn't meant to be. I did not have that energy. Chris Evans had that energy.
Did you get the costume on? Was that one of
No,
those?
I didn't make it that far. No. But I know I had a great read. I just wasn't their guy,
Yeah.
And then as far as, Starlord, listen, I mean, it was kind of a crazy sequence because I was cast as Fandral the Dashing in the original Thor film,
Right.
Kenneth Branagh directed. Was amped to. I was like, oh my God, I didn't get Captain America, whatever, dude. I get to be Errol Flynn. I get this swashbuckling Lothario. Like, come on, what a fun role. Directed by Kenneth Branagh with an English accent. Like, he even liked my English accent enough to hire me, the American, to do it. I was like, this is tits. This is great. Let's go. And then, but Chuck, you know, which was also a massive blessing in my life, but had these moments that were heartbreaking where they, like, last second, they picked us up for like an additional 6 episodes, and they said, you can't go do that movie. And I was crestfallen. I was so bummed. And I had to, you know, and that role went, and Josh Dallas ultimately played that role so well, and he was in the first film. And, but then that, circled back with the second one with
basically the same thing happens.
The
to
Dark
him.
World,
And then
he's on Once Upon a Time. He can't do it. Feige's like, hey, would Zach want to take this role again? And to be honest, look, and I insisted on talking to Kevin about it because for 2 reasons. One, I saw the first movie and I didn't really feel like the Warriors 3 were utilized in that great of a way. And I was like, is that going to be the case again? Because if it is, I don't really want to do that, you know. And he's like, no. It's there's going to be a huge part of this movie. Not so much as it turned out. And but the other thing, I was like, hey, listen, I also don't want this to preclude me from being able to be another character. Yeah. You know, like if this is the only chip I get to play, then, you know, thanks, but I would rather wait for something else. He's like, no. You know, Chris was, you know, Johnny Storm, and then he got to be Captain America. Also, Ray Stevenson was Punisher before he was Volstagg. I mean, there were a few, you know, kind of. Technically, though, these were kind of Marvel tangential films. So
this was prime Marvel.
This
like,
was prime Marvel,
yeah.
So it was like he was kind of, you know, saying it could happen, but also I was like, whatever. Anyway, point is, ultimately, you know, it seemed like it would all be fine. So I did the film. The Warriors 3 weren't really used all as much as I hoped they were going to be used, but I appreciated the job, and to his credit. Right after that, Guardians was kicking on. And so they were like, hey, and James, I knew James through friends and Mafia game nights and stuff like that. And he wanted me to come in and read for it. And I did. And he was like, okay, let's do a callback. And I did that. And he's like, okay, we're going to screen test you. You know, you might very, very well be the guy. And it ultimately didn't work out. And that one hurt because it really felt like, I don't know, the way that we get into our own heads of like, oh, I think this is it.
Right.
And then our expectations get so high. And really so much of our disappointment, if maybe not all of the disappointment we feel in this life, is just unmet expectations. So don't have expectations. The moral of the story, don't have expectations.
Do you watch the movies?
Lower your expectations.
Did it take you a while to, like, could you watch? Because, like, Pratt's obviously great in that. But
listen, Chris is so good in that role. And no, I saw it. In fact, I think I was at the premiere. I think I went to the premiere.
Like,
I didn't.
do this.
I wasn't gonna. I wasn't gonna, you know, be salty about it or whatever. I mean, it's like, if anything, I wasn't angry with anybody else. I was angry with me.
Right.
I was like, you could have done better. You screwed it up. You did this instead of that. Whatever it was, as opposed to just recognizing that it just wasn't mine. And you know, then going through all this therapy, and then like you were saying, on the heels of that. I'm still basically finishing my therapy, and I get this audition after I'd already passed on the audition for Shazam 2 months prior.
Right.
Like, I'm never going to get that job. Again, I was in a place where I wasn't loving myself or believing in myself. But so passed on it 2 months later. I'm finishing up therapy. Here comes this other audition for a supporting role, which turned out to be Super Freddy, Adam Brody's role, which is also so crazy that he and I are this Josh Schwartz kind of ciphers in the whole Josh Schwartz, universe.
The Josh Schwartz multiverse.
The multiverse, exactly. But I, unbeknownst to me, I was auditioning for that role. It was all very under lock and key. And they see that. They're like, oh, actually, that's great, but you could be Shazam. And then a week later, I'm Shazam. And I owe all of that, I fully believe, well, at least a large part of it, to going and doing that work. Yeah. Because I really believe, I mean, aside from the fact that these roles were meant for Chris Evans and for Chris Pratt and all the Chris's and all the Ryans, they have all the jobs. I don't know. Actually, Zachs are doing pretty good in Hollywood too. Let's be honest. But you know, aside from the fact that these were their journeys and these were meant to be theirs or whatever, I wasn't ready for those. Clearly, right? I hadn't done enough work on me to be able to handle whatever the responsibility would come with such a film and a franchise and a. You know, I needed to be in a better place, and I had just started getting to that place, and the universe, God, said, boom, cool, I'm responding to that. Like, I see your intention, I see the work, and I know that you're sticking to it and you're dedicating to this, and you are going to be ready to handle all of these things. Well done. Finally, you realize that. So yeah, it's all kismet to me, and synchronistic, and so therefore you're able to. In the moment, it was harder, but certainly now, I can't think of another superhero I would rather play. And I know that sounds biased, and assuredly, I can't remove all of my bias. But come on, I am literally paid to be a teenager superhero in my body. Like, I get to be a kid again. Who gets paid to be a kid again? Only actors, and only rarely, because there's not that many roles that are these things, you know?
So, okay, so take me to the set of the first Shazam, because that's a film that just radiates with joy and warmth, as this does the second one as well. And again, I'm sure there was gratitude and happiness. I mean, it strikes me like you'd been #1 on the call sheet before, obviously, for many years for Chuck and other things.
Yeah.
But you're in this much different place, this much different context, this very elevated circumstance. Yet, I don't feel any tension emanating from that film. I feel like love and happiness and joy. And that starts with you and with David on set, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like any collective organism, it's top down, you know. I wish more businesses, I wish more industries understood this and really led with that, and understood the responsibility that comes with being a leader. And by the way, but also the privilege, the opportunity that you get to go and protect and foster and care for the people that you have, whether you like it or not, you were elevated above. Yeah. As the #1 on a call sheet, you have certain push and pull and clout that other people don't. And you have to recognize that. That's part of your job and responsibility, I believe. And so to that effect, and because I just love people so much, I mean, it's part of why I love being an actor so much. I get to go work with hundreds. Like, not everybody just gets to go work with a couple hundred people, all milling about every day. You know, like but you might all be in a cubicle separated from each other. Like, we're just this whole, little circus, this whole little three-ring circus that puts up tents and takes down tents, and depending on the location and where you're going, and it's just so much fun. And because the heart of this film, or the franchise, the first film and this sequel, is so much about the fun of it, is the enjoyment of it, is the wish fulfillment of it, it's the family and the humor and the heart and the charm and the adventure and the spookiness that's even in there, that, very reminiscent of Amblin Lucasfilm kind of tone, that should be infused with as much enjoyment as possible. And because I love fun so much, like I'll bring a speaker to work and we'll play music all day long, or we'll joke, we'll have fun. I try to gather people when we're not working and have barbecues and pool parties and things that build relationship, build community, because that's all stuff that only lends itself to the finished product and making it a better thing. Yeah. And happy bees make tasty honey. That's what it is. So I just want to foster the happiest hive.
You've added to the hive with some amazing cast members this time around. Yeah. I mean, that's got to be a good phone call to get when you're like, by the way, Helen Mirren is in.
Oh, bro, I was so stoked when I found out that Dame Helen Mirren was going to come and be Hespera, and that Lucy Liu, who I've had a crush on for forever, who's so badass, was going to be Calypso. And then Rachel Zegler, who I didn't know, but immediately came to know, and now the world is coming to know what a bright and shining shooting star she is, who just, graced us with her second stop up this insane ladder. She's like, yeah, I'll come and play in your Shazam sandbox before I go be Snow White and, and the new lead of Hunger Games and all the things. So what delightful additions to the Shazamly, this trifecta of female awesomeness. And they were all so just down, so game, just roll up their sleeves and come have fun with us, and just brought it. They're all just they're so different and so great in all of their respective roles.
Today's episode of Happy, Sad, Confused is sponsored by Honey, the easy way to save when shopping on your iPhone or computer. Are you guys like me? Do you feel kind of a buzz when you find a deal? Do you feel smart? Do you feel lucky? What about when you're surprised by a deal? Does it feel like you're getting a treat for free? Well, thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes, it's a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Okay, how does it work? Imagine you're shopping on one of your favorite sites. When you check out, the Honey button appears, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. You wait a few seconds, Honey searches for coupons it can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you'll find the prices drop. I know from experience, guys, I've just gone through this. Valentine's Day, my niece's birthday, I had to get gadgets and clothing and gifts, and Honey was there for me. And Honey doesn't just work on desktops, it works on your iPhone too. You just activate it on Safari on your phone and save on the go. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out, guys. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting Happy, Sad, Confused. So get PayPal Honey for free at joinhoney.com/HSC. That's joinhoney.com/HSC. So I feel I can say this because I've seen this in commercials, and I'll put a spoiler alert in this part, but that we finally do see you mix it up with another major DC character.
Oh, yeah.
You got so excited you
Don't say anything.
It's in the commercial. I didn't make the commercial, Zach.
I mean, it is. I mean, yeah, it is in commercials now, which I'm a little torn about. But yeah, it's so cool. That was such a cool thing to shoot. And even like the whole kind of mislead earlier on in the film, which is so much fun.
Again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, don't listen to the next 2 minutes or so. But you had the misdirect with like the cut off head as the Superman bit was in the first one. Okay, we don't get Gal.
Yeah.
So was Gal in that scene too? Was she in the scene where
No. I mean, Gal shot all of her stuff remotely. She was working on a film, I think, in Europe. I can't remember where she was, but we shot with a body double on both the restaurant scene and then that last scene, and then we were able to comp it all in. And movie magic, baby, movie magic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've probably had like a split mind on this because like from the beginning, there's been this excitement about Shazam finally coming to the screen, and then like the greedy comic book fans like myself are always like, yeah, but are you gonna fight Black Adam? Are you gonna fight Superman? Or where's Wonder? It's like, well, can't we just tell our own story? Like, I mean,
yeah, it is. Listen, I mean, as a comic book reader and lover since I was a kid, like I get it.
You want to see them.
So does David. So does Henry. So does Chris. So does Peter. Like everybody understand. I mean, I want to do all the fun crossovers and all the fun team ups, and I mean, it'd be amazing. But I don't think people realize just how difficult all that actually is. Like, it's not. You would think, one would even hope that things, are so easy that you can just make it happen, that this actor and this other actor all have a schedule that works perfectly, that you can go make these things or do these things, or that even people have the interest or the, whatever. I mean, there's
there are 1,000 variables.
There's so many nuanced things about it. And you hope that people can just appreciate what it is that you're doing for what it is worth and not always be bummed because it's not that. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you, you know?
So we've mentioned James Gunn a couple of times. I mean, you go way back with James. It must be surreal to like now see him at the top with Peter of this DC.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I would call it surreal. To me, I mean, I think it's, look, like I was saying, none of this is normal. Everything's surreal, I guess. But it also, to me, kind of makes perfect sense. I mean, when I heard the news, I wasn't like, oh my God. I was like, oh.
Right. No, you're right.
That, I get, like that's
that
kind of a smart
move.
I mean, listen, James, I think, has shown multiple times now that he's able to take a franchise and the world of that franchise and really build it out in a fantastic way. He's done it more than just these two examples, but specifically with Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad. Not to knock Ayers and the original or anything like that, but I thought James's was a superior version of that film. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, and that is a difficult thing to do. By the way, it's almost double difficult because now, David Ayers had his hands full in the first one because, again, it's a niche. It wasn't this big thing, IP, that everybody knew, right? So how do you do that? And then so Ayers had already, that he was tasked with that. Then James had to be tasked with doing that while also being held to some standard that was already set before him, and still, I think, made a really fantastic film with great balance of all the action and the drama and the comedy and whatever. And he did the same thing with Guardians. Took this niche IP, very few people had ever heard of, and made it so mainstream that now, because there's a lot of people that are coming to the Marvel Universe for the first time with these movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, not me, of course, but, a lot of people are learning about Iron Man around the same time they're learning about Peter Quill.
Right.
And they're just as equal to them, which is really a testament because they weren't and haven't been in the comics for many, 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 many years. And, Guardians has a friggin' ride at Disneyland, for God's sake. I mean, that's how well James did and built that universe. So for somebody like him to step into a visionary seat at DC, and by the way, I think smart to allow him to focus on the creative vision part while then Peter, who is his longtime manager, business partner, all of these things, and, diplomat, and businessman, allow him to focus on that stuff, and then see if we can't go build something that's cool. And I look at all that and I go, yeah, I get that, and let's go run with that. And and hopefully they've got more plans for me. I don't know. We'll see.
So okay, we've dived deep on the superhero part of you, but that's just like one aspect of you. I mean, you are this kind of like, and I think back when you were a kid, probably it was even more unusual. Now you're allowed, I feel like, to as a kid to love everything. Yeah, you can love Broadway theater and acting and music and nerd culture. When we were kids, I don't know. It felt like you were going to be
a nerd.
You were. Yeah.
That was not mainstream. None of that was mainstream. I mean, Broadway. I would say, ironically, that maybe not ironically, but nerd culture, meaning video games, comic books, and the like, that was very taboo to cool, right? It was the opposite of cool. And then with, the advent of all of really, kind of like Downey's Iron Man forward, all of that culture has become mainstream pop culture. And it's really a bummer, actually, that there are still some OG nerds that hate that. They're like, well, we were here first. Right. It's like, don't you want all the people?
Don't you want more people to love
what you love, as opposed to still thinking you're a nerd for come on, take the win, know? And yes, but it's also a pride thing. Like, we thought it was cool first. Right. It's like, that. Not everybody, it doesn't matter. You know that you were here first. Yeah. We all know it together. So, but it's really cool, I think, and interesting that has definitely become cool. Broadway and theater, let's say, I still think has a little bit of more of a nerd kind of, lens on it, because it's a thing that in school is still, like in middle school, if you're in the band or you're an actor or you're in the arts, that's not as cool as sports, and that's still kind of a balance that we're working out. But I will say, things like Hamilton, certainly, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, that really brought that whole, more modern culture, even rap and all that, you kind of put that in, and now there's a touchstone. Now people can be like, oh, I actually can like that. That can be cool. So, yeah, things are shifting, and I love that they are, because it was always so strange to me, I guess, being the nerdy actor kid. I was like, why can't this be just as interesting? But we have all these weird, stupid, social, cliques in general. Middle school, it starts in middle school. Kids are total assholes because they're all trying to be like the older kids who were in high school, who are all trying to be like kids in college, who are all trying to be like, working adults. And it becomes this whole like who's cool and who's not, and the have-nots and all this stuff. And we got to do away with all that. It's just stupid.
So on the resume, obviously you've sung a bunch, but animation primarily. I don't know if you've ever done the big live action film musical.
No, not yet, but I want to.
Yeah, where is the Cats? The Mamma Mia 3?
Where is it? Mamma Mia 3. Give me a man after midnight. Want some?
Is there one on the list that hasn't been made yet, or that needs a?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think it would be fun to do something original.
Yeah.
There are some incredible classic. I know they've been trying to make Guys and Dolls for a long
I've been
time.
talking about this for a decade.
Yeah,
What
I
the
know,
hell?
but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I don't know.
They've been close a bunch of times. I know.
Yeah. Well, listen. Unfortunately, from a film opening, box office, or whatever standpoint, the track record still isn't great for movie musicals.
Right.
So I understand why studios are a little hesitant. Like, everyone thinks they have a good idea, and then they make the thing. And even when it's great, like Spielberg, West Side Story, all that stuff,
so
it's like,
great.
but if the appetite's not there, or they just miss the mark in what people are looking for, or marketed it or whatever, in the Heights, like that, I thought was a really delightful film, but it didn't do as well as they hoped. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to all that is, but I love music. I love singing. I love acting. I would love to put all that together into a movie. I just haven't found it yet.
Do you still dive down the video game rabbit hole? Like, what's the most hours you've lost to a video game recently? Or Lifetime? What's the one all-time?
Yeah, well, Lifetime, that's a good question. I mean, I would say, even though I didn't, it was at a time when you couldn't really log those hours, I would say the amount of time I played GoldenEye on N64 with my friends was unhealthy.
Alarming,
Well, I guess it's all really been unhealthy, but so much. I talk about a nerd. Although I was kind of in retrospect, at least by the time I got to my senior year, I was kind of a cool nerd, if that makes any sense, and that I was still accepted by some of the cool kids or whatever. I had a lot of friends. But I was a kid, I swear to God, I had a little red duffel bag, and I brought my Nintendo 64 with 4 controllers, 4 rumble packs, and 4 different games, and Mario Kart and GoldenEye were 2 of them, and I would bring them to parties.
Sure.
I would bring it all to parties, and we would play
or
we would not
with
play.
Me. Yeah.
So Mario Kart, GoldenEye, lots and lots of hours. Halo, the original, so many hours. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the original, so many, but lots of all those.
So is a prerequisite for anybody in your life, loved ones, this is me. Take it or leave it. You might lose me for 100 hours. Yes and no. Honestly, I've gotten a lot better at it because they're unfortunately, I would get to the end of so many of these games where I get, and you have this moment of elation because you've completed it. You've completed, and I'm a completionist, by the way. I need every side mission. I need to find every little secret. I want to get there, 100%, baby. And you get there, and you're like, yeah. And then you
stand there and you go, nobody cares. Nobody cares. This means nothing. I could have learned a foreign language in the amount of time that I spent crusading through these worlds. But they're still fun. And I do feel creatively stimulated by them. And I think that it helps me in my storytelling and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. The last game I spent lots of time playing was Hades. I don't know if you played Hades. It's this rogue, I think they're called rogue type. Basically, you're this character, Zagreus. It's all Greek mythology. You're Hades' son, who's half god, half human, and you're trying to escape hell. Where you live, and you have to go through all these chambers and battle through it, and if you die, you just keep going back to the beginning, but you keep leveling up, you keep getting more powerful every run, so eventually you get out, and then you can start putting all these modifiers on it to make it more difficult, and you open up all these other weapons and stuff, and oh my God, I played so much. I played.
Did you complete it, though? Did you finish it?
I completed a lot of it, but I didn't even do all of the modifiers, because I was like, this is a sickness. I am addicted to
escaping hell.
It was not. It really was.
It's a metaphor for life.
It really was. But it's such a great game, and the new one's coming out soon, and I have no doubt I will be so sucked into that. So thanks, Hades.
Find a nickel for every. Where are we at on The Last of Us? Are you a Last of Us fan of the game and the show?
Huge Last of Us fan. I think I said this. I tweeted this out to Neil Druckmann when the first game came out and I played it. It's one of the best pieces of entertainment content on any size screen of any really medium of entertainment in the last 20 years, as far as I'm concerned. That first one. And the second one was even better, which is unheard of. It's unheard of. So what Neil and the gang at Last of Us have done, Pedro Pascal, I have a lot of love for. I was gutted that I didn't. I wanted to play that role so bad. I wanted to play Nathan Drake in Uncharted first. I hit a Naughty Dog when I played Uncharted back in the day. I was like, who's got the rights to this movie? And they're like, already sold. I was like, ugh. But
Did you
they make
get
great
in
games.
there? Did you get an
No,
audition?
I don't. That's fine. Whatever. It is what it is. We'll go do something else. But anyway, suffice to say, I loved the video games so much, and I love that they made a series. And I'm only 3 episodes in, I think, to the series because I've been doing the tour, and I haven't really had a lot of time to watch anything. But I love it. I love that so much of it is so akin to the way the video game, particularly that first episode, and they're trying to get out of Austin. And there was literally some of the same shots. And I was like, yes, I love this. So it's great. I'm so stoked for them.
Okay, so looking forward, you're going to take hopefully a little breather after this press tour.
I guess you could call it that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's other work to be done and other projects. And I'll go home. I'll do some personal stuff. I'll go see friends and family. Yeah. I'll go home. I have to keep preparing for this new role that I'm doing, a film called Not Without Hope with Joe Carnahan, which is it's a true story about these 4 football player, kind of best friends back in the mid-ish 2000s who went on this very ill-fated fishing trip. You might remember this, and they went off fishing off the coast of Florida. The boat capsized, and 3 of the 4 did not make it, and it's a really harrowing tale, but I think one that I'm very proud to be a part of telling, to honor those men who lost their lives. And I don't know, stories like this, I think it's important that it's like The Perfect Storm. You go into it and all those men are going to die. You know what the end of the movie is, but you go with them because you want to connect with them and in a way remember them and be reminded of the fragility of life, So anyway, going to do that and then we go shoot that for a while. And then I shot this movie, Harold and the Purple Crayon, which comes out in June, and then I'll go promote that. And we'll probably talk then. I don't know.
Yes. And you have to escape Hades one more time.
And I got to escape Hades at least once more.
Zach, it's always a pleasure, man. Congratulations. SHAZAM, Fury of the Gods. I feel like I have to raise my fist. You got to do it.
Fury of the Gods. That's so furious.
He loves spandex and saying his own name. The one and only, Mr. Zachary Levi.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man.
So good to be here.